It's time for a conversation with Bob and Sherry.
Hi,
Sherry.
Bob. Hey, I want to tell you, last time I talked about I'm almost 18,000 days into being a woman. And thanks to you, I did get something with my name on it. So just, you know.
What's your
Thanks.
goal? Do you have like another goal of how many days you want to hit? 25,000? Is that a benchmark?
I don't know. I mean, let's see what this whole being a woman thing gonna go.
Okay.
I think we, as a woman, we feel a little threatened at this point. So, hey, let's talk about the things you want to talk about. It's a couple serious topic we want to discuss.
I had a conversation with my daughter. My daughter's an adult. She has 4 children. She works part-time. She's conservative. However, she's sort of disillusioned with the whole political thing, the division and the arguing, but she's into social media. She told me some things she had heard on TikTok, of all places, about the laws in Florida around the transgender children. And I was literally shocked at what she heard. I think she generally thought they were true. She was telling me about it, I think, from a place of concern. So I was glad we had the conversation because it gave me a chance to look into these things. I had no idea some of the crazy things that are being said, and people just believe it. The claim is that there's different derivations of it, but it's saying that the transgender child law in Florida is giving Florida the ability to kidnap parents' children from them if those parents say, hey, my child's transgender, or they want them to seek care, or they're affirming it, then Florida can take their child away. She even went so far as to say that they can reach out of state where there's a custody issue, the parents are divorced or whatever, and there's a custody issue where they could literally take custody away from the parent with custody. So basically override the home state's law and take the child away. None of this is true. It's all a complete mischaracterization of the law. Oddly enough, I've always been a skeptic or critic of fact checking. PolitiFact did a fact check on this and favored the Florida side. They said none of these things are true, and I find this fact check to be pretty reliable, because I checked what they were saying. I actually downloaded the law and things like that. The beginning of all this, they can kidnap your child, is from a thing called the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction and Enforcement Act. There was some form of this in place since 1968. It was updated in 1997. So there's a group, a legal group, that puts this sort of law recommendation thing together. They've put it out there, and 49 of the 50 states have adopted it. Massachusetts is the only one. So what they've done is they've taken what this group has said and they put it into law. The purpose of it is to handle interstate child custody issues and to protect children. The United States is unique in that individual states are very much like countries would be in Europe. They have a lot of latitude. They have a lot of power. State laws vary dramatically. Something can be illegal in one state, legal in another. Part of the Constitution is to oversee the interstate commerce, because Pennsylvania has literally no authority over what happens in New York and West Virginia and other states. So part of this act was done to protect children. So, for example, if a couple lived in New York and they split up, and New York courts assigned custody to the mother. Well, under this law, New York would be called the home state, and other states would recognize and respect what New York does. But let's say the mother left New York and went to Florida and put the child at risk for some reason. Let's say she's abusing the child or doing something horrible or things like that. Then what this act does, all states, the state can then intervene, temporarily take emergency custody of the child. But then they have to refer back to the home state. in this case, let's say it's from New York's the home state. They go to Florida. Florida cannot make a custody decision. All that this law allows them to do is intervene to protect the child and hold temporary custody while they contact New York and work with the New York courts and say, here's what's going on. Here's what we found. What do you want to do? Now, I don't know if there's an extradition process or anything like that, but it's just a temporary custody to protect a child in cases of danger. And in Florida, they've added, because they've said that, transgender care for anyone under 18 is going to be illegal, they added this to the list of harms that are a child. It doesn't give Florida automatic, oh, wow, you just said your child's transgender, we're taking them away. No, it's just one other factor that could be brought before the courts to make a case that this child is, being put in danger. None of these things are automatic. So in the case of the mother taking the child to Florida from New York, usually it would take the father to contact Florida and say, my wife's in Florida. She's kidnapped our child. She's doing this, putting a child at harm. So then the Florida authorities would be allowed to investigate and determine what action they want to take.
It's a process. It's a process to make sure the child is in good hands and look out for their welfare.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, if you think about this, Kohl's just came up with the 3 months onesie for trans babies. I'm not sure how many 3-month-old identify themselves as non-binary or
I have to ask, Jerry. I didn't see this. Are you sure this is true?
Yeah, it's on Kohl. Yeah, it is true.
3-month-old. It's a transgender onesie, or is it a unisex onesie?
No, it's a onesie, but has like a transgender, rainbow and with a little.
Oh, okay.
I'll send you the image.
Okay, so like a pride themed.
Right.
Okay.
Onesie, and then, then we have the Target selling tuck-in swimming suit, and that's marketed to children. I have to be honest with you, when this whole tuck-in swimming suit, I first heard of it, I thought it was for adults. An adult trans woman or self-identify as a woman has a swimming suit with the tuck-in option. I did not realize it's for children. When I found out it was for children, that's when I said, okay, that's when the buck stops, right? It's like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So I just want to mention, so you said these information being spread around on TikTok. And keep in mind, TikTok is a Chinese app that is highly controlled by the Chinese government, regardless what the CEO says. The whole premise, I believe, is here to divide Americans. So I would advise anything you hear on TikTok, don't listen to it. Do some research on your own. In this case, you did the research for your daughter and get this clarified. Now, here's a interesting...
Well, just to be clear, this could be done on any platform. It could be on Twitter. It could be anywhere. I mean, we saw where they were mischaracterizing the Florida law related to Black history, and that was on The View. So,
The View, right?
Or wait, it was CNN. I'm sorry, it was CNN, where the woman was saying that Ron DeSantis racism, he's blocking the teaching, and that wasn't what was happening. So it's really a left wing, and of course Democrats are going to use this because it motivates people. My conservative daughter was outraged. Well, this isn't good. This is wrong.
Right.
And it's not true.
No. Now, here's another thing. I just want to point that out. It's also on TikTok, but it's to gear towards the right, to anger the people on the right. Okay, This is a thing. It says schools are putting litter boxes in bathrooms.
Oh yeah.
To accommodate kids that self-identify as a cat. Well, one of my employees told this to me, and then said to a few other people. And she said, well, this is happening locally in the Riverview School District, that's Oakmont and Verona. So I'm like, this just sounds really far-fetched, right? How big of a litter box are you going to put in the bathroom to accommodate? I mean, how are people going to use this? Well, the easiest thing for me to do is call a school board member which I know. I say, hey, I just wanted to check in with you. Is this true? She's like, no, absolutely it's not true. We're not putting litter boxes in schools. So it was a matter of phone call just to kind of clarify
Right.
that. And I see that the political Fed says schools are not putting litter boxes in bathrooms to accommodate children. Even months that unfounded rumor have claimed, and those school districts have issued a statement debunking the story multiple times. Some social media posts are still spreading the erroneous information.
Now,
And this was started on TikTok.
is that the like a left winger doing it to bait right wingers and to
I have
discredit
no
them,
idea, but
or is it
people need
right?
to.
Because I've seen it both ways. I mean, there's people out there, they have an outrage, and so they're going to share every piece of whatever, trying to generate outrage from other people. And if it's false or if it's out of context or anything, I mean, it discredits the people who share that view. I mean, it
Right.
says, well, look, they're so you can't trust anything they say. They're trying to tell you that they have cat litter boxes in school for the kids. It's
Yeah.
not true. They're crazy people.
Well, either way, but it's a matter of phone call to just verify that information with the local school district. Well, although I have heard and verified that during the furry convention in town, apparently Pittsburgh has the largest furry convention.
Yeah, it's the furry convention, I think.
And the people work at the hotel have told me that these adults are bringing litter boxes in their room to do whatever they have to do when they do dress like a cat or animal, whatever. Now but that's in their own private suites.
Yeah, whatever.
And then I think the hotels are charging extra money for this because
Really?
they clean up the litter boxes.
Let me read a couple of things from the PolitiFact article just to wrap this up.
Okay.
So here is a statement by Brandon Wolf, who's press secretary at Equality Florida, a civil rights organization advocating for LGBTQ plus Floridians. So this is a, LGBTQ advocacy group. The bill as written does not give the state of Florida unilateral power for the state to intervene and take someone's child into state custody. So, period. He just says it's not true. Here's another statement from Simone Chris, a lawyer and director of the Transgender Rights Initiative at the Southern Legal Council. And this Simone Chris's law firm is actually suing Florida right now for other what they call anti-LGBT legislation. Simone said it doesn't alter Florida statutes regarding child welfare and the foster care system. And then down here, because the bill amends only the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction and Enforcement Act, that was the universal thing I was just talking about, this clause applies only when questions of state jurisdiction or interstate cooperation are at play. So she's saying that this doesn't have anything to do with people who are residents of Florida. So, even the LGBTQ advocates are saying that this mischaracterization is false.
I just want to do a quick correction. I think now is LGBTQIA.
What's IA?
No idea.
Okay. I'm good with LGBT. I'm just going to stick with that.
Yeah, pretty soon we'll have all the alphabets.
I only threw the other ones in there because that's what was written in that piece I was reading.
Gotcha. It's LGBTQ plus, but I've heard LGBTQIA now. So I have to figure out what IA means. What? Talk about this children thing. I discovered something that really kind of creeped me out and bothered me. This is actually in existence. There is a camp called the White Thorn Lodge. Okay? Apparently, it's a family nudist camp. If you go on their website, it says women sitting at the pool, butt naked, with two of her children sit on either side of her. They're clearly, I don't even think they're 10 years old. And the far away, there was two old couple, an old man and an old woman, swimming and looking at these naked people. Now, how is the family and nudist camp even legal? This is in Pennsylvania. Everybody goes there and they get nude with minors walking among adults nude. What happened to activists? What happened to people who say we're here to protect children? Are they hugging people? I mean, why are they exposing little kids to a hairy ass? Bare naked. I mean, what is this? This is absolutely ridiculous, and it creeps me out. The fact that this exists, and how are you verifying if the adult that goes to this camp with the children are actually their kids? I can see potential human trafficking. And what happens at night when the lights are out? Who's monitoring? What are these people doing with these kids? All the touchings and everything. And the more I think about it too, the people I knew, I found out that go there. This is information from a friend of mine. And she found out this because she found out these people are going there. The people going there, I know for a fact, they're liberal, they are pro-mask mandate, they're pro-vaccine mandate, but they say they go into a nudist camp because it feels free, okay? So it's okay for you to walk around the place naked and sitting by the pool and swimming in the pool with naked people, but then at the same time, you were worried about me wearing a mask? I mean, there's just all kinds of wrong with this. So I urge our audience to look into this place, and I put a picture of this place on our website. I would personally write a letter to a legislator to say, hey, let's look into this, because personally, I'm being creeped out personally, but at the same time, I feel like is forcing these children who are innocent to be exposed in an environment they really shouldn't be. I mean, what happens as they grow up, and how much therapy do you have to get to kind of get a comprehension? I mean, I think if I need a therapy just to digest this, but it really creeped me out.
Well, yeah, I sort of defer. I wanted to show the website to my wife and get her impression without saying anything. And I expected it to be at least as what you said, probably a little more extreme. That's gross. That's what's wrong with these people, that sort of thing. But personally, I looked at it. It bothers me. I think it's wrong. I would never, go to somewhere like that or, think that it's right. But I don't know that we should have a law against it. I mean, it's a private, they're on there. I can't defend these people. Okay, so I don't want to defend them. But when you start talking about laws, I mean, I could say, around our family, you get showers and things, I mean, kids see the adults nude and vice versa. We're not living that way, but, it happens. So now they do get to a certain age where, that, no, you don't see each other naked kind of thing. It's probably close to that with my oldest grandson. And so I don't know. I guess I wouldn't necessarily consider or jump to the worst conclusion. I'd actually like to hear some of those people talk about what they're doing and why they think that's okay and why they think that's something they want their kids to be a part of. And, but I would suspect if you're looking for child sex predating and things, that might be kind of a place you'd want to look at.
Well, here's the thing. You cannot vote till you're 18. You can't buy cigarette till you're 18. You cannot drink till you're 21. But then our society is allowing kids to transfer their gender as young as now. Like we have 3 months old babies, we have gay dogs, and exposing them to an environment it's different. If my 5-year-old used to want to jump in the shower with my husband for a period, that just him. That's with his father. But I'm never going to expose my child to other strange men.
I'm not going to have the neighbors over and let's all get naked in front of the kids.
No. Well, no. I'm not saying that making the whole nudist camp illegal. Hey, if you're 18 and plus, you're into this kind of thing, have at it. But exposing your kids to this kind of stuff, I think we got to put some kind of limit here. I mean, seriously. Well, I just think it just creeps me out. And when let me
throw up a little consistency test. So, we had the FBI, domestic terrorist unit, monitoring and investigating parents who were yelling at school board meetings.
Yeah.
So they were treated like terrorists, a threat. So I would venture to say there are some people on the other side, a lot of people on the other side of that issue that said, well, hey, they were acting crazy and it didn't make, dangerous. So yeah, I think that's justified. And the same with the guy who was arrested for the pro-life protester who pushed another gentleman and said, get out of my kid's face. The local court threw it out, said there was no assault there. They didn't violate any law. But then the feds come in and arrest the guy. So there are some people out there that would say that's fine. That's like domestic terrorism. Well, would you also be okay with the FBI saying, well, who are these people that are taking children to a nudist camp? Maybe we should look at that a little bit. Maybe we should surveil them like they were surveilling parents outside the school, without their knowledge. Maybe they should kind of just follow these other parents around just to make sure they're not doing anything,
Yeah, I think they should.
Illegal.
I think they should do some background check. First of all, to make sure these kids are theirs to begin with. Do they double check to see if you have sex offenders coming to these camps? I mean, what is a background check process to allow people into this camp? If you're a sex offender, you're a human trafficker, this is like a perfect place to be. So, exactly. The parents are angry at the school board because their children's education, and they were mad because the kids are being groomed to read these transgender books and this, being taught CRT. Okay, those parents are being, and I believe those parents have every reason to be mad. Maybe they're yelling, maybe they're screaming a little bit, but still, they're looking out for the welfare of their children. Bringing your minor kids to a nudist camp, not even teenagers. I mean, I would say if you're 15 and 16, okay. I mean, I don't even think that's okay. But I
kind of think it's worse.
Yeah, bringing a kid to 5, 6 years old to a nudist camp, family nudist camp, I just think is so creepy. Yes, people should look into it. They should be investigated because this is absolutely creepy. I mean, they should say, have the camp, just keep the kids out.
Now, I don't know about this, Freudian psychological effect on young kids seeing their parents naked, but it's practically unavoidable. I mean, your family, it would be like a husband and wife saying, we're not going to see each other naked. It's almost impossible to do that. But certainly the older the kids get, I mean, because little kids, I mean, and this is one of the problems we have with the transgender or the gender ideology teaching in young schools. Like in Florida, they banned it from kindergarten to 3rd grade. Young kids shouldn't be sexualized. I mean, they're not having these thoughts. And, my youngest grandson just turned 4, and I asked my daughter, so, what's really the difference between, he's a boy. What's the difference between him, a boy 4-year-old, and a girl 4-year-old? Not a whole lot, to be honest with you.
Mentally,
psychologically.
Psychologically, there's not.
So yeah, they're not. Now I believe one of the problems we're having is our culture, because pornography is so readily available in every home through the internet, that kids are seeing things at a much, much younger age. And I think that's one of the arguments that like the World Health Organization has when they set standards for, sex education in children. They're seeing it, but also the significant rise in exploitation of children around the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think there's but personally, I think that should be done with the engagement of the parents and say, look, here's what's happening in our world. Here's the kinds of things that, whether you have this stuff in your home or not, very likely your child's going to see it on a friend's phone or a friend's home or something like that. So parents should be aware that their kids are seeing things like graphic things at a very young age.
Well, yeah, I know my son's seeing it, looking at it. He's a preteen. He's going to be 13 this year. He's very much a boy, but we have an open discussion. But at the same time,
but my point, though, I'm sorry, is you hit teenagers, you're already kind of having a sexual thing going on, thoughts, body, all that. So yeah, things change as they get older. I would think it's less of an issue with the younger kids, unless, of course, obviously, if you're around a pervert, I mean. You got to ask. I mean, you got to wonder. Even if parents think, "Oh, we're into this. It feels free, and it's just a lifestyle, this and that." I mean, if how many of these people that are there like it are there because they can look at children or because they're children
exactly.
Even if there's only one,
it just.
It's too many.
Yes, I think that just breeds predators. And what happened when the lights out at night? I mean, the whole thing just not sit right with me. The fact that this even exists, it grosses me out. My son, I know what my son's looking at. I see all his social media posts and the conversation he has with his guy friends. But at the same time, he also understands whatever happens, it's a private thing, right? You do things in the privacy of your own home and not going around walking, what if people get arrested for walk around a park and exposing their body to people? What do you call those people?
Oh, yeah. I was thinking about that. Flashers.
The flashers. The flasher could get arrested. We have sexual harassment things. And why is this okay? Like I said.
And are those children old enough to consent to that?
They're not, right?
No.
If your parents bring, if you look at the website, those two kids sitting at the pool, just their back shown. And what kills me, too, is child pornography is not allowed. That's an illegal thing to do, child pornography. Right. How many people are taking pictures at these nudist camp, even keeping on their own phone? Is that
there you go.
Is there child pornography?
I would, if that were my business, I think that I would have an 18, not that I would ever have a business like that, but I would just say 18 and up. I mean, get a babysitter.
Exactly.
Get
a babysitter. 18 and up.
Yeah.
I mean, what's wrong with 18 and up? Well, I'm sure they'll be busy. I mean, how many people would not go to a nudist camp and very uncomfortable with the fact there's children there? I think you'll have a better business if you keep it at 18 and up.
Well, one of the local newspaper articles I read said that place is a popular destination for nude tourism.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
That is very scary.
Does that mean that it's one of the, why that place? If they're all over the country, is that, how many of them allow kids? Is that part? I don't know.
Yeah, that is scary. So I'm going to write a letter, and I want this to, I don't know how many people even know this exists. So I want it to be out there. I want parents to be aware of it. And this is not acceptable.
We have laws restricting children going into certain places of business, things like that, depending on what they're doing. as far as investigating and everything else, I mean, I drew that parallel to say if you have a problem with one, you probably should have a problem with the other. If you're okay with one, you should be okay with the other. But they're not identical.
No.
But just to have a simple law that states if you're going to have nude adults, outside the, whatever, if you're a nudist thing, you got to have an 18 and older.
Yeah.
Like a drinking age.
Exactly.
How hard is that?
Exactly. How hard is that? A thought just came. Oh, and then that's the same. If you're against drag queens to perform in front of children, you should also be against this. That's absolutely so that
one of the counters people have is, remember Milton Berle used to dress up like a woman.
okay.
And, some kids used to dress up like girls at Halloween. And so people have produced photos of kids around some adult or some man dressed up like a woman, but it's not the same.
It's not the same.
If that's all the drag was, it's usually done to be funny, to say, look, this is stupid. This guy trying to look like a woman.
Well, look, remember the Benny Hill show?
Mm-hmm.
Benny Hill always dressed up as a woman and always have like an old lady as his comedy skit.
Right.
But it wasn't like this is okay and acceptable. It's just like this is as done in the comedy skit. And when we watch a Benny Hill show, it always happened after midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after kids went to bed. Like when it was show in Hong Kong, it was always done after midnight. So it was not the type of show they would broadcast at 8:00 at night when all the family gathering were having dinner.
Another counter I see is, and I saw a lot of these on that local brewery.
Mm-hmm.
They posted a picture of the Hooters girls posing with a couple of kids for pictures, saying, well, there you go, same thing. No, it's not the same thing. There's have you ever been to a Hooters? I have, sure. They dress scantily, but there's nothing sexually suggestive whatsoever. They're not gyrating, pole dancing, they're just serving food with, short shorts and tight T-shirts.
They're dressed no different than the cheerleader.
Yeah. And they'll say, well, not all drag is sexually explicit, suggestive, but we've seen videos. I don't know where how common it is, but you have seen videos where kids are putting dollars in their clothes, and they're doing the spread legs and all the things that they do in front of kids. So you can't say it doesn't happen. There
was an 11-year-old drag queen. The parents was allowing him to perform in the drag shows with adults, having adults giving him money. I can't believe that's not child abuse, right? This kid is being groomed, raised to perform drag show at 11 years old. Why is it that the FBI is not research that, investigating those parents? To me,
how did drag queen story hour even become a thing?
I don't know. What happened?
I just can't imagine. Okay, they're gonna read stories at a library, and I look at it and go, "Oh, it's drag queens. I'm definitely taking my kid." Well, what is that? I don't understand.
I don't know either.
It's like Mickey Mouse. The kids, someone wearing like a Mickey Mouse costume reading a story. I can see that. That appeals to kids. But what's with this? I never understood how that even became a thing.
Why don't we have veterans story hours? Why don't we inviting people that fought in the Korean War, men or women? Why don't we have those people, the grandparents, coming to do a story reading?
Have old white guy story hour.
What's that?
Old white guy story hour.
Oh, no, that would be racist. No, check your white privilege right there.
I don't know. It almost seems to me why would parents why is that a thing? Are they like, look at me, I'm taking my kids? Is that kind of thing?
I don't know.
Draw attention to the parents?
If they would had a veteran story hour, I would absolutely go. And just to give you a comparison, when we're growing up, we did have veteran story hour in China. in schools, they do have people that's currently serving in the army or, was wounded in the army. We do have those people come into school, talk about their experience with the war and how much they love their country. I mean, it's propaganda, but, how they were treated afterwards. So this is happening since the communism days, right? They prop up people in serving in armies. They prop up people that's a policeman. It just, I mean, no drag queen ever came in to the school and say, well, we're going to perform, in China. And it just, I think with the trans kids thing, with the, 3-month-old onesies, with this tuck-in swimming suits. Another question I think I asked you before, after what happened to Bud Light, right? So now Bud Light put themselves out there with Dylan Mulvaney, so the people that normally drink Bud Light, that demographic, it's all pissed off. They're cutting. We're no longer drinking Bud Light. I have 3-4 patrons, a long-term Budweiser Bud Light drinker, all changed to Yingling, Icy Light, Coors Light, and Miller Light. And then now they piss off the LGBTQ because there's 3 or 4 bars now. They're not even serving Bud Light because Bud Light backed out of the endorsement. So they're pissed off the straight people. They pissed off the gay LGBTQ community. Why after that, Target and Kohl's still made a decision and went forward with all these merchandising? What you would think the people up top say, hold off, let's examine what we're going to put on the shelves. Let's not make everybody mad, because now if you put it out,
they took it out of some stores and moved it in others, like to the back.
Right. But
so
then
now you're right.
You're angering both sides now, right? Now, the only people I felt like, the only demographic that actually buys into all this and support all this trans endorsement are the wealthier class. We talked about the rich white liberal women that have the money to spend on K-Spay, the KitchenAid. I think that's the one demographic they definitely should market to, appeal to the top celebrity people they're or endorsing. But when you come down to everyday people like you and I, working mothers, working fathers, I don't think these are good demographics for them to market it to.
I think I know what's going on.
What?
And by the way, did you see the latest example? There's a bearded, effeminate man who is the fairy godmother apprentice in Disney World or Disneyland, one of the Disney parks. So there's a video of the man, bearded, effeminate. Hi, I'm the fairy godmother apprentice. Come on in, with little kids. So that's making the rounds today, that video. Inviting the kids into the store or whatever it was. So, yeah, you go, why would you do that? I believe what's happening is the internal company focus on, the rise to power, if you will, of the chief diversity officer. So, like quality at one time, quality went in manufacturing and engineering in the States. Quality was sort of, we inspect things at the end. And then with Japanese influence, it became all about total quality processes. And then with ISO 9000, there was this mantra like total commitment to quality, that the CEO, the quality person has to report directly to the CDO, and we have to elevate them in their authority, and they have authority, quality over accounting and everything that the business does. Now, all, in fact, of the quality managers I work with exercised a level of humility with that. I mean, they realized it's not my job to tell accounting how to do accounting, but it created an environment where someone could be sort of arrogant. And now take that same idea and apply it to the chief diversity officer. So we have these companies that already had people in place that their job was diversity and equity and inclusion. And then the George Floyd thing happened in the summer of love. And, it just elevated that stuff to the max. So I believe what you're seeing is, the internal to the company, they've hired someone, they've given them this authority, and now if they push back on any of these things, it's back in the day, you're not committed to quality. Do you want your customers to know that you don't care about quality? Same thing here. You can't push back against these people without internally creating problems. Now, their number one job, I believe, is internal culture and hiring practices and things like that. So if a man interviews and says, I want to be a fairy godmother, and he happens to have a beard and everything, because of the pressure and the internal commitment to diversity and thing, it's created a difficult position for Disney. Even if people in there go, I think this is a bad decision, they go ahead and do it because they don't want to stick their neck out, and then it hurts the company. And I think that might be how it's affected marketing, and that's what's going on. So even though like you said, after what happened to Bud Light, you think they'd learn. I think they're each going to have to go through the pain on their own before internally they feel comfortable pushing back on this diversity and equity and whatever else they call it.
Well, Target just dropped $10 billion, and
that'll do it.
Yeah. Well, Bearded Fairy Godmother is just as creepy as the white Thorn Lodge to me. Mm-hmm. You have this bearded man asking kids in to a store. That just does not look good in any capacity. Sorry, that's creepy.
Yep.
I think my son will punch him in the face.
So I think companies, especially the larger companies, they're caught between a rock and a hard place right now, because they after George Floyd, elevated all this commitment to diversity and equity, and we're going to do all these things, and and now they've given that power over to these people, and quite frankly, these people could be more militant than any quality person ever was.
Well, it's going in the very wrong direction. Everything I've been discovering, just the morality has just gone to shit. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that we are getting farther and further away from tradition and core family values. We're pulling people apart. I think in the next 10 to 15 years, there's going to be a ton of lawsuit when these kids grow up and understanding what happened to them. They're going to hit a big awakening. You're going to have a group of population going to come to a huge awakening and say, why would you do this to me as a child? Why would you let me do this? Right? Another
element of that Florida transgender law has taken those protections away. They've opened the door to say anyone who was treated for this under the age of 18, at least, it might apply to everyone, but definitely under 18. If later on they find they've been harmed, then they have legal recourse. They can go back and sue these people for pushing them, whatever, recommending this care or providing this care. They also, to be fair, the Florida law, if people are currently in that, so you have somebody who's 16 years old who's currently receiving hormones or whatever, there's an exception for them to continue. So they're not going to force people to undo things that have already started to happen. And there's plenty of exceptions in there for people with actual chromosomal damage or genetic issues and things like that, actual medical issues. They're not prohibited from these care. It's just the psychological issue driving you to take medical intervention on your body. They've limited that, said under 18 you can't do that.
Well, Kansas just passed a law and is passed complete party line, where the Republican 26-9 Republican voted yes, 9 Democrat voted no. They made a definition. What is a woman? It's the first state I think passed it. I will see a lot of states will follow that. That law is saying a woman is a biological born female, and that prevents trans women entering women's space. That's including sports and bathrooms and, swimming pool changing rooms, that type of thing. And I am applauding them for doing that because I'm not comfortable. If I'm in a swimming pool changing room, I'm not comfortable other women look at me, let alone a biological born male walking in. That just, to me, they need to have their own bathrooms.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that you share an article, and I believe I share too. There was a young man died on the surgery table because he had all kinds of infection. He was doing the male to female trans surgery, which is extremely brutal. I share a animated video of the surgery on our Facebook page just to show people what they're doing to your body is nothing short of mutilation. And they take your testicles out and split your penis like a banana. And there's no way that this feels good. No way. And this boy died because he was taking puberty blocker. His penis did not develop correctly, and he wound up getting all kinds of infections.
Wow. Yeah, they're missing piece. So he was under 18, and he had been treated with puberty blockers at such a young age that his penis didn't grow. It was so small and this was in the UK, and it was some years ago, but his penis was so small from the puberty blockers and the hormones that they couldn't create the fake vagina there wasn't enough flesh there, tissue, sorry. There wasn't enough tissue, penis tissue, to make one. So they took part of his colon, and they literally made, a vaginoplasty using colon tissue. Well, guess what's in your colon? There's E. coli and these bacteria, and he ended up with an infection and died. I mean, that's just horrific.
So people say you can reverse if you decide to stop the puberty blocker. This is a perfect story, right? We don't know.
No.
Nobody knows. You need to let the kids grow up and decide what they want to do. I'm not sure if I share this. My own sister has gone through a period of time where she wanted to dress like a boy, act like a boy, about 2 to 3 years, right? We're like, sure, whatever. And then she grew out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Happily married and have a son. Let them grow out of it first. This is absolutely insane what parents are doing to their children to say my 5 and 7 or 8-year-old, my 3-month-old baby, they're non-binary. I mean, this is just absolutely insane. And they're not providing. If there was a YouTube video of this girl, her parents started him transitioning at 3 years old. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Oh, they produce a video, everybody watch it. The parents but this
3
child,
years old.
3 years old.
I mean, I've had 3 kids and now 4 grandkids, the youngest being 4. There's no 3-year-old that you should be doing any sort of medical intervention on anything that they say.
No.
I mean, if a 3-year-old watches a cartoon and comes away saying a 3-year-old boy watches a cartoon and sees something like this, no surprise he comes away, you know what, I might be a girl. I think I'm a girl today. That means absolutely nothing. Nothing. I mean, that's anybody who argues science to say that that's justified, they've lost all credibility in my mind. I don't care what their credentials are. You cannot tell me that a 3-year-old is going to, like we just said, there's very little, if any, difference between a 3-year-old boy and a girl. I mean, obviously they have their biological differences and things, but, the way they think, the way they behave, they're very, very much the same.
I have, so this is what my son went through when he was 2.5 years old. He decided he wants to be the Hulk. I have a video of him took a green paint and painted his entire body with green paint. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's when he was 2.5. He wanted to be a Hulk. By the time he get to 5 years old, he said he wants to be Ninja Turtle. He truly believed he can be a Ninja Turtle. So when this little girl was dressing up as Elsa from, what is that cartoon? Elsa or Anna from this
the
Disney movie.
yeah, the cold thing.
Yeah, the cold thing. And so this little girl, we were getting ready for Halloween. This little girl said, "Oh, Brandon, would you be my prince?"
Mm-hmm.
My son said, "No, I want to be a Ninja Turtle." So did I go and to a doctor and say, "My son wants to be a Ninja Turtle. Let's go through the transformation." It's as crazy as that, right?
Most of the time, if you watch these videos of a kid saying things that are kind of adultish and you're like, wow, I'm just amazed that a kid could say something like that. Most of the time, they're repeating something they've already heard from another adult. They're not formulating these ideas and these thoughts on their own. So when you have a 4, 5, 6, even 7-year-old child who says like, I think I might be a girl, if they've been around that and people talking, they're just repeating what they heard. I mean, so watch any of them. Watch any of them where a child says something adult-like. I guarantee you they heard it on TV, on their tablets, or some other adult. And
right.
No one really remembers them saying that. They're just emulating what they hear and see around them. It happens all the time.
Well,
it's cute. I record it too, and I'm like, oh, look how cute this is. But I know that kid's just repeating or taking pieces of things he heard and mixing them together. But those are not original ideas.
They're not. My son,
they don't come from within. They are not innate. They're coming from without. They're coming from the outside.
My son is really into South Park, and he's on Reddit reading all the memes. Mm-hmm. So every time he says something, and I'm like, yeah, that's from a meme. That's from Reddit. That's from South Park. It's not your original. He tried to be funny. That's oftentimes we say, well, he's 12 going on 35, but at the same time, he is also 12 being a 5-year-old.
Right.
So, I mean, it just these, the social media, these erratic behaviors, and people desperate for attention, it is just getting out of hand. And talk about people desperate for attention. Let's talk about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry.
Okay. I don't know what's going on with them. I heard that about their high-speed car chase through Manhattan.
Yeah. What the thing is, it made them all look stupid to say, hey, we have a high-speed car chase in the middle of Manhattan. You can't even get around Times Square. Have you seen Times Square? I think half of them is blocked. You can't move. Mm-hmm. So this is all desperately seeking for attention. I understand that they're talking about divorce. Harry spends a lot of time away from...
Oh, are they? They're getting divorced.
No, they're talking to divorce lawyers, supposedly.
So would he go back to the royal family and get whatever his honors or whatever his titles are?
I bet you he will. And Meghan's probably going to get a shitload of money. But this is just, this reminds me of the whole Jussie Smollett story, right? 2 a.m. in the middle of Chicago, you have people walking around with MAGA head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in MAGA country and they put a noose around them or whatever.
Yeah. Completely fabricated. These are celebrity privileges.
As soon as I heard that story, I'm like, this is so corny and stupid. There's no way that it's real. And it just blew me away how many in the media ran with it. Like, oh, this is shocking. That's how strong bias is in people. They're just so convinced that this cartoonish version of a right winger is just all over the United States. They're just so quick to believe that. I'm like, come on. Why? No one would say that. There's no tough guy right-wing person who would say you're in MAGA country and put a noose around his neck.
In the
What's
middle
the
of
point?
Chicago at 2 o'clock in the morning when
Yeah,
there's
on the way from Subway.
yeah, when there's a winter storm out there. So I think maybe this is why when Meghan Markle and Harry talked about this high-speed chase thing, everybody kind of took a back seat and said, wait a second, you're in the middle of New York City. What's a high speed? Like 5 miles an hour? I mean, what is your speed?
Well, and apparently
Now,
it lasted hours or an hour and a half. Like, it was a
well,
long...
apparently what happened, and this is what I understand, and the mayor of New York even came out and said, there's no way you can have a high-speed chase.
Right.
So essentially what the story was, they changed multiple vehicles because they don't want anybody to know where they're staying or where they
Okay.
live in New York City. So they changed multiple vehicles, really have nothing to do with a high-speed chase. Of course, there's photographer following them, taking pictures. And Harry demanded those pictures back from the photographer. Well, the photographer's lawyer wrote a scathing letter. And now, I'm not going to read it word by word, but essentially what it's saying is, look, we fought that war. You're not royalty here. These are my pictures. The property belong to me. You cannot ask for those pictures back. We had that freedom fight
Okay.
back in 1776.
Sounds like a good argument.
It's a great argument. I thought it was fantastic. I think those two just going to diminish, disappear. The more they're trying to get attention, the less attention they're going to get. People are going to just wipe them away. I think that Meghan Markle really lost the opportunity to represent and just be a good royal, be a good wife, but that's not her thing. She wants to be the celebrity. But then she doesn't want to do the job, right? It reflects the generation that's at, I don't want to do the work. I just want to enjoy the privilege. Well, that's not how the royal family is. You know, if you look at the coronation, Prince Charles, and Prince Williams, what do they say? This is about service. We're here to service you, our people. This is all about service. They're living a privileged life. There is a unspoken contract between the British people and the royalty. We give you this wonderful life. In return, you must service the people. They attend 200 some events a year, each royal, to help different foundations, to help different causes. This is what the royal family is. In order to keep this royal family going, they must service their people. Mm-hmm. Meghan Markle doesn't want to do that. She wants to enjoy her celebritism. She wants to have the money, the power. But it's like, don't ask me to work.
Yeah, I mean, that whole incident to me reeked of they're just opportunists, because
Yes,
if they really respected the royal family, which they should,
they should.
at least Harry, they should have said, you know what, it's just not the lifestyle we want to live. We understand that there's things that, the what do you call, the pageantry and the tradition, and it's just not the way we want to live, and it's not where we want to raise our family. So we're leaving that. Why couldn't they just say that? Because it wouldn't have got nearly the attention of calling them racist. I mean,
Yeah.
the Queen and the royal family are racist. They said about our brown baby. Boom. I mean, that's guaranteed celebrity, big money generating stuff right there, for sure.
Absolutely.
So they're just opportunists.
They are. And I think that's going to be going away pretty soon. Just to wrap up.
People write these scathing reviews of restaurants and they think they're being persuasive. Or someone who leaves another company just is scathingly critical. But most of the time, you look at that review and you listen to this person and you say, they're just over the top. I mean, this is just, they lose all credibility. You say, you know what? The problem is them, not the restaurant, not necessarily the employer. And, somehow a lot of people seem to miss that.
Well, that's funny you mentioned that, because I just saw this and I posted on, my husband's restaurant's page. Here's why. We have gotten some really bad reviews and from banned customers and fired employees. I fired an employee a few years ago. All of a sudden, I get a really bad review on my flower shop Facebook from the employee I fired because she's lazy. She doesn't do anything. She had her and her boyfriend wrote a bad review on the flower shop who, you know, and then I had another old lady, her name is Mary, and she posts this terrible review on Google. She's like, I've been a customer for years and they chased me out. Well, no, she hasn't. She only been to the hula for 3 months. She comes in to sing karaoke. When she comes in, she brings a bag of potato chips. She's not spending any money, and she's a terrible singer. So,
So she's not buying anything, and she's a terrible singer.
She chases people out. So she buys a Coke. She spent $2. She buys a bag of chips. And then one time she brought a whole bag of chips passed around the bar. I'm like, wait a second. You think your friend who's DJing right now, he's getting paid from me. But you're preventing people from spending money at the bar. So I said, you know what, you can know. And then the minute she starts singing, people leaves. Because
Really?
that's how horrible
it's
she
that
is.
Bad.
It was horrible. So I told her, don't come in anymore, right? And then she wrote a terrible review on Google with complete lies. But this is great because...
So, Jerry, if I came to your bar restaurant with a cooler full of drinks and I set up a grill outside and I made some burgers and brought them inside, you'd have a problem with that?
Yes, I do have a problem with that.
You don't want me to bring my own food and drink to a bar restaurant?
No. I had another guy I had to kick him out. He sit at my bar, the kitchen's open. He get a Uber driver deliver him food and brought in the bar, and I said, you're not eating that here. That's absolutely infuriating. But this is what this woman says. It says, come in and try the worst coffee one woman on TripAdvisor had in her life. I just absolutely love this. I'm going to send this to you.
All right.
People don't run a business. They don't understand how hard a business owner have to work and, you know, have to weather the storms and the ups and downs of the business. They have nothing into it. This is why they can write these reviews. I go to a restaurant when I have a bad experience at the restaurant. I don't write a review to say, oh my God, a bad experience. I go to the owner of the restaurant and say, hey, this particular server, blah, blah, blah. This, you know, because I am a business owner, so I want the business owner to know how they can better improve. I'm not going to go on social media bad-mouthing that business, regardless how bad my experience. Because somebody could have had a bad day. All kinds of stuff can happen. So for people to go in there to be so vindictive, because, and I think that's absolutely unacceptable. So, but I'm going to send you this picture. I just loved it when this is happening. But before we wrap up, Bob, I just want to point something out, and that goes back to what we discussed last week about the uniting the Republicans, right? I heard the Ron DeSantis speech and how he come back to Trump with all the attack he got from Trump. He is so articulate and forward thinking, and he addresses, he moves on, and he focuses on Biden. Mm-hmm. Versus Trump is name calling and still talk about 2020 election. I felt like there's no comparison here. I think the Republican would not do themselves any favor if they still vote Trump in the primary, because that's a guaranteed lose for 2024.
I mean, I could go either way. You know, when Trump did that town hall, I loved it. I mean, my first attraction to Trump was defiance of the media. You know, no back down, and that's what he did at that town hall. And I was like, yeah. So, you know, I don't get too emotionally invested in the primary. I think that's problematic and divisive. So, you know, I don't know which one I would vote for if the primary, because the primary is so far off.
So far off.
I'm just going to pay attention, but I do not take everything Trump says literally. I mean, I think that's a big problem for anyone. And I could do a whole half hour on that, but, you know, understand Trump, get to know Trump, but don't take him literally. So any politician, you can't really take them literally, especially Trump. So, I'm glad to see DeSantis now that he's gotten, officially announced that now he's starting to respond to some of the stuff. But, some of the things just like the attack on him for the 23% national sales tax. Well, it's not clear from that commercial. What he was saying was abolish income tax and only have a sales tax. Now, I don't know if that's a good idea or not. I don't know if that's preferred or not, but it's unfair to say that it's like an additional tax on everybody. It's just crazy. And, lots of people have talked about, Social Security. I think you got to leave Social Security alone. And use that as an example of why you have to be careful about starting these entitlement programs. But the truth of the matter is, when you have too many people taking too much money out and not enough people putting money in, where's the money going to come from to fund Social Security?
Wait, Social Security is not an entitlement program. Social Security, if you pay into it, you should be able to get your money back. But people that doesn't pay into Social Security, they're the one. If they're getting money from your years and years of putting that's entitlement. But I have a problem saying Social Security entitlement when you're collecting it. You put into it for how many years?
Well, I appreciate that. In fact, I'm against any means testing on Social Security for that very reason. As soon as you assign means testing to, unless you set the bar like super, super high, and those people, most of them aren't collecting it anyway.
No.
But, you're right, because it was sold as like a retirement thing. You pay into it, but the country, at one point, they just lumped the money in with the general fund. There's not a lot of set aside. The money that comes in for Social Security doesn't get earmarked necessarily for Social Security. It's like any other retirement program. It's not guaranteed. Look at the school taxes that we pay. Look at the school budget and how much of that budget is to pay teachers retirement, teachers that are on retirement. We're paying that with our tax dollars, right. And it's probably it's a huge chunk of the school budget. And the same with the federal government. But there are SSI and things like that within Social Security that are entitlements.
Right. But you
still had to pay something in, I think, to get SSI.
I don't know why your Social Security should not be an escrow account, right? I believe if I'm working, I'm paying into Social. I think more people will be encouraged to work if they know their Social Security in the escrow account, just like your 401k. You should get a statement.
Right.
Once a year, once a month, once a year is fine, to say, here's what you paid into this year, here's what your Social Security is at. If you retire this age, continue to pay this much, this is what you will get. I think if people know they're guaranteed to get that retirement they put in, you will encourage more people to go out and get a job. Now, if you're getting SSI, if you don't work, some people are getting SSI because they're alcoholic.
Right.
That's considered a disability now.
Or drug addicts, yeah.
Or drug addict.
And I don't understand why there's even such a thing as SSI. Social Security should just be for Social Security.
Exactly.
I've never looked into it, but off the top of my head, I don't know why it exists.
If you say to someone, okay, I'm paying into Social Security, out of my Social Security, 10% goes to a program that help the needy. At least we know, right? Yeah. At least you know, okay, I'll take 10% of the 6.2 I put in and the 6.2 my company match. Out of that, 10% would be in a separate account that helps the needy. Mm-hmm. Fine. And then the Republican just added the work requirement to get food stamp. I applaud that. Why, if you're able-bodied Americans, why should you get food stamp? Go get a job. I hate it when I see people with a begging sign on bridges. You look at them, you're like, you're 20 years old, you're 30, 40 years old. You're perfectly able to go out, get a construction job, get a landscaping job. They're paying a lot of money to do those jobs now.
Yeah, there's a huge worker shortage, so it is a little difficult to take those people
Yeah.
seriously anymore. Oh, I'm out of work. Well, there's a
How?
lot.
How are you out of work?
Yeah.
Everybody is hiring. So, no, I don't have, I have a problem to the seniors that's paid into the Social Security. I have a big problem for them to say, oh, they're entitled, it's entitled program for those people. No,
I
they pay
take it
into
back.
it. Their money.
I agree with you. I never should have said it. I take it
Yeah,
back.
it's their money. They should take their money. But I am all for setting that aside as an escrow account.
Right.
Have so many percentage out. That's what I would do.
There is a problem though, and that is there's too many people. You know, the whole wagon analogy. You know, like socialism. At some point, you have too many people in the wagon and not enough to pull it. And that's kind of where Social Security is. People are living longer. Boomers are aged out. I'm at the end of the boomer generation. And so it's the largest generation ever. And they're living longer because of medical science advancements and things and health. People are living healthier lives. So, despite the obesity, anyway, there's just more people drawing out of Social Security and not enough people paying into it.
And why is
So
that?
it
Because
creates a
we
problem.
discourage people to have children, right?
Wow, there you
We're
go.
pushing abortion. We discourage people to have kids. So you don't have enough labor in the market. You don't have enough people working to pull the wagon.
Right.
To pull the wagon. That is because our culture is discouraging people having more children, having a big family. They
Yeah.
destroy the family.
I see that changing, though. I mean, my daughter has 4. I see a lot more families with 4 and 5. And I have to tell you, when I see a mother out with, you know, a handful of kids like that, I applaud it. Because for the longest time, their parents weren't having kids or they were sticking with 1 or 2. And for the younger parents now to go all in like they are with 4 and 5 kids, I have to applaud it.
Well, you hope out of the 4 and 5 kids, everyone, not people go on puberty blocker because you know they're not reproducing. So,
Well, yeah. I mean, well, you know, even that's still a small number, but yeah, I get it. I get
yeah.
it.
So, all right. Well, we gotta go. I think once again, this is we're talking about issues that's close to home, and it's really everyday issue. I believe everybody should be, should think about it.
All right. Thanks, Sherry.
Have a good one.